Hello, hello. Welcome to the stream. We are going to read more of Mockingjay because I think we only read like 3 chapters, and usually I do 5, but, how's my day? Not terrible. I finally had some free time before work. I didn't do a double today, which was not bad. Um, but I do gotta get in, to work a little bit early, tomorrow. Um, yeah. We're gonna continue Mockingjay, get to a good, decent part into it. Um, because last 2 books I would read like up to 5 chapters a stream. But since we are kind of doing a little later streams, we'll probably do like 3 or 4 chapters. Um, we'll max at 3, or minimum is 3, and then if there's like a crazy cliffhanger, which there usually is, then we'll do another one. So like 3 or 4 chapters. Um, yeah, we'll see what time it is by then, and then yeah. What else? What else? I kind of want to know what the. Just make sure you get proper rest. So true, Valen. So true. So true. Um, yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what the forecast is over in San Diego. Like right on TwitchCon and everything. Because I kind of want to wear like long sleeves, dude. Like I kind of, I have this cool little like sweater, that fits the whole marbling kind of thing. Um, Finished the movie today, and 3 out of 5 of my fave characters. San Diego's usually a little chilly around that time. Okay, we shall see. Well, yeah, because it's like by the ocean. Yeah, yeah. Year round. Oh, I didn't know that. Hopefully, I can wear like a little sweater weather. Um, hopefully. But yeah, no. Nothing else to really talk about. Uh, I've been there. Swather, wather. I've been there summer and winter. I always have a little sweater. Hell yeah. Okay, cool, 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 cool. I've been playing that Keep Driving game, man. Something about it, like I just need to keep making some progress. There's a there's like 14 different endings and everything. Um, I like it. I unlocked the truck and it's good. It's pretty fun. It is pretty fun. Raccoon. Um, it's pretty good. I got like the muscle car and everything. Not a whole lot of like trunk space, but like good engine and everything. I got screwed. My last run, I was going for the Great Race or whatever. Where it's just like constant encounters. Bone Man, I missed you. I miss you too, Raccoon. It's been a minute. We are going to be reading some Mockingjay, some Hunger Games, this stream, and then maybe next stream we'll swap to something else. I just want to try and get some good progress into this book because we have this, we have Songbirds and Snakes, and then we have Sunset on the Reaping. Um, yeah. But yeah, tomorrow night we'll play a game. We'll do game stream. Um, we'll figure out. Tuesday I might be busy. I'll have to see. Tuesday I might not stream. I'll have to see. I'm hanging out with a friend of mine. Um, Either I gotta give him a ride back home, or nah. I think I'm picking him up. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what time it is. Monday I could do a marbling stream. Could do a little bookbinding stream. Might do a little IRL hangout time. Um, I could position my camera to my dining room table and kind of set up that kind of stuff. Um, I know that like because I do need to make a TikTok of the whole process of making a book. I think that'd be a really solid talk. Um, and pin it and everything. So like I could do that on Monday. I'll have to see after work. Um, and then what else? What else? Yeah, it's just like keep driving games got me hooked. And I've been kind of playing a little bit that Sparking Zero, that DBZ game with like the DLC characters. Kind of fun. New game mode's kind of neat. Reminds me of like Budokai Tenkaichi, just a smidge. Um, I'm a sucker for like DBZ games. Not gonna lie. We'll be here, and I'm gonna force him to watch your streams with me at night. Hell yeah! Nice, make him. I love an audience. Um, no, yeah, I need to be playing some games, man. I've been in like an Assassin's Creed mood and everything, and every time I like boot it up, I'm like, man, Xbox 360, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood days is peak, chef's kiss. Um, yeah. Okay. Boop. Black Flag, yes. Without a doubt, Black Flag is the shit. I think the peak was two through Black Flag. Um, Rogue wasn't that bad. I just think like there wasn't a whole lot of difference, especially when you did like Black Flag, Freedom Cry, and Rogue. Um, but then again, it's like two Brotherhood and Revelations, so I kind of understand like the trio of like naval combat and all that. Um, but like Shay Cormac. Oh wait, that leads into Unity. I'm pretty sure because Shay Cormac goes to for sales and then just like randomly. I'm pretty sure because I know one of the games you just like walk up and like take someone out. Either no, was it Black Flag? Um, I love Valhalla, but that's because I fucked up and played Valhalla first. Bit really realized they are a storyline. Yeah. Um, the whole like Desmond Miles is like core story. So like one through three, I think. Revelations. Yeah, I think up to three, maybe. Sorry, I'm hiding in bed. No, you're fine. You're fine. Um, yeah. Eventually, it was Black Flag, where like the OG Black Flag, where you're out of Animus was like first person in like an office, and like you talk to Desmond's friends and all that kind of stuff. It was a little goofy. Um, it was goofy, but also interesting at the same time. So like games before Black Flag was like the core uh storyline outside of the Animus. Um, and there's also like Origin, where like you're camped in Egypt and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Um, okay. So we are going to start this here at the 10-minute mark. Okay. So that fucking scared me. All right. Okay. All right. All right. What? Okay. So we're on chapter 4. What the fuck? Ooh. Oh, I'm so excited. I did kind of cop the secret lair. Um, oh, we're standing today. Yes, we are. Um, I did cop the MTG Secret Lair of Stardew Valley. Uh, Magic the Gathering has some Stardew Valley cards. I didn't know you had knees. I do got some knees. It's a whole model. Hold on. I can move them around, I think. Let me see. Let me see. If I go here, and then I just do like, whoa, like I can just be, I can be like right here, just chilling. Toes. Whoa, whoa. Hold on. Yeah, dude. Hold on, how many toes do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, I got 5 toes. Too spicy? Yeah. What the heck, man? We just got flashed. I'm sorry. There I am. Okay. I'm trying to hold the book. Oh, the symbol is on a different layer. Right? Okay, these two I need to move. I'm just behind the banner. It kind of ruins it. Okay. If I'm just like right here. The knees. Yes, the knees. They move a little bit. Okay. Scrumptious. Huh? I applaud your vocabulary. Okay, I'm just like right here. And then where's book? Is this book? Wait, hold on. Rebook. No. Ah! Are you book? No. You are book? No. Your book. Okay. We'll just, kind of smallin you. There we go. Okay. Um, so the last time we were here, uh, they went down to the elevator 3908, door 3908. Then, distracted a guard so that Katniss can go through the door, only to find out that her prep team from the previous Hunger Games got beat up. Yeah, her prep team is there. We're on chapter 4 of Mockingjay. Okay. What do we got? What do we got? Okay. The stink of unwashed bodies, stale urine, and infection breaks through the cloud of antiseptic. The three figures are only just recognizable by their most striking fashion choices. Venia's gold facial tattoos, Flavius's orange corkscrew curls, Octavia's light evergreen skin, which now hangs too loosely as if her body were a slowly deflating balloon. On seeing me, Flavius and Octavia shrink back against the tiled walls like they're anticipating an attack, even though I have never hurt them. Unkind thoughts were my worst offense against them, and those I kept to myself. So why do they recoil? The guard's ordering me out, but by the shuffling that follows, I know Gale has somehow detained him. For answers, I cross to Venia, who was always the strongest. I crouch down and take her icy hands, which clutch mine like vices. What happened, Venia? I ask. What are you doing here? They took us from the capital, she says hoarsely. Plutarch enters behind me. What on earth is going on? Who took you? I pressed her. People, she says vaguely. The night you broke out. We thought it might be comforting for you to have your regular team, Plutarch says behind me. Cinna requested it. Cinna requested this? I snarl at him. Because if there's one thing I know, it's that Cinna would never have approved the abuse of these three, who he managed with gentleness and patience. Gentleness and patience. Why are they being treated like criminals? I honestly don't know. There's something in his voice that makes me believe him, and the pallor on Fluvia's face confirms it. Plutarch turns to the guard, who's just appeared in the doorway with Gale right behind him. I was only told they were being confined. Why are they being punished? For stealing food. We had to restrain them after an altercation over some bread, says the guard. Venia's brows come together as if she's still trying to make sense of it. No one would tell us anything. We were so hungry, it was just one slice she took. Octavia begins to sob, muffling the sound in her ragged tunic. I think of how the first time I survived the arena, Octavia sneaked me a roll under the table because she couldn't bear my hunger. I crawl across to her shaking form. Octavia? I touch her and she flinches. Octavia, it's going to be alright. I'll get you out of here, okay? This seems extreme, says Plutarch. It's because they took a slice of bread? Asks Gale. They were repeated infractions leading up to that. They were warned, still they took more bread. The guard paused for a moment, as if puzzled by our density. You can't take bread. I can't get Octavia to uncover her face, but she lifts it slightly. The shackles on her wrists shift down a few inches, revealing raw sores beneath them. I'm bringing you to my mother, I address the guard. Unchain them. The guard shakes his head. It's not authorized. Unchain them now, I yell. This breaks his composure. Average citizens don't address him this way. I have no release orders, and you have no authority to... Wait. Oh, hell yeah. Do it on my authority, says Plutarch. We came to collect these three anyway. They're needed for special defense. I'll take full responsibility. The guard leaves to make a call. He returns with a set of keys. The preps have been forced into cramped body positions for so long that even once the shackles are removed, they have trouble walking. Gale, Plutarch, and I have to help them. Flavius's foot catches on a metal grate over a circular opening in the floor, and my stomach contracts when I think of why a room would need a drain. The stains of human misery that must have been hosed off these white tiles. In the hospital, I find my mother, the only one I trust to care for them. It takes her a minute to place the three, given their current condition, but already she wears a look of concentration, consternation. And I know it's not a result of seeing abused bodies, because they were her daily fare in District 12, but the realization that this sort of thing goes on in 13 as well. My mother was welcomed into the hospital, but she's viewed as more of a nurse than a doctor, despite her lifetime of healing. Still, no one interferes when she guides the trio into an examination room to assess their injuries. I plant myself on a bench in the hall outside the hospital entrance, waiting to hear her verdict. She will be able to read in their bodies the pain inflicted upon them. Gale sits next to me and puts an arm around my shoulder. She'll fix him up, I give a nod, wondering if he's thinking about his own brutal flogging back in 12. Plutarch and Fluvia take the bench across from us, but don't offer any comments on the state of my prep team. If they had no knowledge of the mistreatment, then what do they make of this move on President Coin's part? I decide to help them out. I guess we've all been put on notice, I say. What? No, what do you mean? Asks Fluvia. Punishing my prep team's a warning, I tell her. Not just me, but to you too, about who's really in control and what happens if she's not obeyed. If you had any delusions about having power, I'd let him go now. Apparently, a capital pedigree is no protection here. Maybe it's even a liability. There's no comparison between Plutarch, who's masterminded the rebel breakout, and those three beauticians, says Fluvia icily. Oh, hello, Cameron. Hello. I shrug. If you say so, Fluvia. But what would happen if you go on Coin's bad side? My prep team was kidnapped. They can at least hope to one day return to the capital. Gale and I can live in the woods. But you? Where would you two run? Perhaps we're a little more necessary to the war effort than you give us credit for, says Plutarch, unconcerned. Of course you are. The tributes were necessary to games, too. Until they weren't, I say. And then we were very disposable. Right, Plutarch. That ends the conversation. We wait in silence until my mother finds us. They'll be alright, she reports. No permanent physical injuries. Good. Splendid, says Plutarch. How soon can they be put to work? Probably tomorrow, she answers. You'll have to expect some emotional instability after what they've been through. They were particularly ill prepared, coming from their life in the capital. Weren't we all, says Plutarch. Either because the prep team's incapacitated or I'm too on edge, Plutarch releases me from Mockingjay duties for the rest of the day. Gail and I head down to lunch where we're served bean and onion stew, a thick slice of bread, and a cup of water. After Venia's story, the bread sticks in my throat, so I slid the rest of it onto Gail's tray. Neither of us speaks much during lunch, but when our bowls are clean, Gail pulls up his sleeve, revealing his schedule. I've got training next. I tug at my sleeve and hold my arm next to his. Me too. I remember that training equals hunting now. My eagerness to escape into the woods, if only for 2 hours, overrides my current concerns. An immersion into greenery and sunlight will surely help me sort out my thoughts. Once off the main corridors, Gale and I race to like school children for the armory, and by that time we arrive, I'm breathless and dizzy. A reminder that I'm not fully recovered. The guards provide our old weapons as well as knives in a burlap sack that's meant for a game bag. I tolerate having the tracker clamped to my ankle, try to look as if I'm listening when they explain how to use the handheld communicator. The only thing that sticks in my head is that it has a clock, and we must be back inside 13 by the designated hour, or our hunting privileges will be revoked. This is one rule I think I will make an effort to abide. We go outside into the large, fenced-in training area beside the woods. Guards open the well-oiled gates without comment. We would be hard-pressed to get past this fence on our own, 30 feet high and always buzzing with electricity, topped with razor-sharp curls of steel. We move through the woods until the view of the fence has been obscured. In a small clearing, we pause and drop back our heads to bask in the sunlight. I turn in a circle, my arms extended at my sides, revolving slowly so as not to set the world spinning. The lack of rain I saw in 12 has damaged the plants here as well, leaving some with brittle leaves, building a crunchy carpet under our feet. We take off our shoes. Mine don't fit right anyway, since in the spite of waste not want not that rules 13, I was issued a pair someone had outgrown. Apparently, one of us walks funny because they're broken in all wrong. Rough. Uh, my bedtime story. Hello. How goes it? How goes it? Let's see. We hunt, like in the old days, silent, needing no words to communicate, because here in the woods we move as two parts of one being, anticipating each other's movements, watching each other's backs. How long has it been? 8 months? 9? Since we had this freedom? It's not exactly the same given all that's happened and the trackers on our ankles and the fact that I have to rest so often. But it's about as close to happiness as I think I can currently get. The animals here are not nearly suspicious enough. That extra moment it takes to place our unfamiliar scent means their death. In an hour and a half, we've got a mixed dozen rabbits, squirrels, and turkeys, and decide to knock off to spend the remaining time by a pond that must be fed by an underground spring, since the water's cool and sweet. When Gil offers to clean the game, I don't object. I stick a few mint leaves on my tongue, close my eyes, and lean back against a rock, soaking in the sounds, letting the scorching afternoon sun burn my skin. Almost at peace until Gale's voice interrupts me. Katniss, why do you care so much about your prep team? Here we go. I open my eyes to see if he's joking, but he's frowning down at the rabbit he's skinning. Why shouldn't I? Let's see. Because they've spent the last year prettying you up for slaughter, he suggests. It's more complicated than that. I know them. They're not evil or cruel. They're not even smart. Hurting them, it's like hurting children. They don't see... they don't know... I get knotted up in my own words. They don't know what, Katniss, he says. That tributes, who are the actual children involved here, not your trio of freaks, are forced to fight to the death? That you were going into that arena for people's amusement? Was that a big secret in the capital? No, but they don't view it the way we do, I say. They're raised on it, and are you actually defending them? He slips the skin from the rabbit in one quick move. That stings because, in fact, I am, and it's ridiculous. I struggle to find a logical position. I guess I'm defending anyone who's treated like that for taking a slice of bread. Maybe it reminds me too much of what happened to you over at Turkey. Still, he's right. It does seem strange, my level of concern over the prep team. I should hate them and want to see them strung up, but they're so clueless and they belonged to Cinna, and he was on my side, right? I'm not looking for a fight, Gale says, but I don't think Coin was sending you some big message by punishing them for breaking the rules here. She probably thought you'd see it as a favor. He stuffs the rabbit in the sack and rises. We better get going if we want to make it back on time. I ignore his offer of a hand up and get my feet unsteadily. Fine. Neither of us talks on the way back, but once we're inside the gate, I think of something else. During the quarter quell, Octavia and Flavius had to quit because they couldn't stop crying over me going back in, and Venya could barely say goodbye. I'll try to keep that in mind as they remake you, says Gale. Do, I say. We hand the meat over to Greasy Say in the kitchen. She's like District 13 well enough, even though she thinks the cooks are somewhat lacking in imagination. Because she cooked dog. But a woman who came up with a palatable wild... But a woman who came up with a palatable wild dog in rhubarb stew is bound to feel as if her hands are tied here. I remembered that she cooked dog. Exhausted from hunting and my lack of sleep, I go back to my compartment to find it stripped bare, only to remember we've been moved because of Buttercup. The cat. I make my way up to the top floor and find compartment E. It looks exactly like compartment 307, except for the window, 2 feet wide, 8 inches high, centered at the top of the outside wall. There's a heavy metal plate that fastens over it, but right now it's propped open, and a certain cat is nowhere to be seen. I stretch out on my bed, and a shaft of afternoon sunlight plays on my face. The next thing I know, my sister is waking me for 18 o'clock reflection. Prim tells me they've been announcing the assembly since lunch. The entire population, except those needed for essential jobs, is required to attend. We follow directions to the collective, a huge room that easily holds the thousands who show up. You can tell it was built for a larger gathering, and perhaps it held one before the pox epidemic. Prim quietly points out the widespread fallout from that disaster. The pox scars on people's bodies, the slightly disfigured children. They suffered a lot here, she says. After this morning, I'm in no mood to feel sorry for 13. No more than we did in 12, I say. I see my mother lead in a group of mobile patients, still wearing their hospital nightgowns and robes. Finnick stands among them, looking dazed but gorgeous. In his hands he holds a piece of thin rope, less than a foot in length, too short for him to even to fashion into a usable noose. His fingers move rapidly, automatically tying and unraveling various knots as he gazes about. Probably part of his therapy. I cross to him and say, "Hey, Finnick." He doesn't seem to notice, so I nudge him to get his attention. "Finnick, how are you doing?" "Katniss," he says, gripping my hand. Relieved to see a familiar face, I think. "Why are we meeting here?" I told Coin I'd be her Mockingjay, but I made her promise to give the other tributes immunity if the rebels won, I tell him. In public, so there are plenty of witnesses. Oh, good, because I worry about that with Annie, that she'll say something that could be constructed as traitorous without knowing it, says Finnick. Annie. Uh-oh, totally forgot about her. Don't worry, I took care of it. I give Finnick's hand a squeeze and head straight for the podium at the front of the room. Coin, who is glancing over her statement, raises her eyebrows at me. I need you to add Annie Cresta to the immunity list, I tell her. The president frowns slightly. Who's that? She's Finnick O'Dare's... What? I don't really know what to call her. She's Finnick O'Dare's friend from District 4, another Victor. She was arrested and taken to the capital when the arena blew up. Oh, the mad girl. That's not really necessary, she says. We don't make a habit of punishing anyone that frail. I think of the scene I walked in on this morning, of Octavia huddled against the wall, of how Coin and I must have vastly different definitions of frailty. But I only say, no? Then it shouldn't be a problem to add Annie. All right, says the president, penciling in Annie's name. Do you want to be up here with me for the announcement? I shake my head. I didn't think so. Better hurry and lose yourself in the crowd. I'm about to begin. I make my way back to Finnick. Words are another thing not wasted in 13. Coin calls the audience to attention and tells them I have consented to be the Mockingjay, provided the other victors, Peta, Joanna, Enobria, and Annie, will be granted full pardon for any damage they do to the rebel cause. In the rumbling of the crowd, I hear dissent. I suppose no one doubted I would want to be the Mockingjay, so naming a price, one that spares possible enemies, angers them. I stand indifferent to the hostile looks thrown my way. The president allows a few moments of unrest, and then continues in her brisk fashion. Only now the words coming out of her mouth are news to me. But in return for this unprecedented request, Soldier Everdeen has promised to devote herself to our cause. It follows that any deviance from her mission, in either motive or deed, will be viewed as a break in this agreement. The immunity would be terminated, and the fate of the 4 victors determined by the law of District 13, as would her own. Thank you. In other words, I step out of line, and we're all dead. Oof. Oof. Let me get some water. Okay. So, already... Fuck, Alma Coin, right? I will say, in the film, you are kind of like, if I remember correctly in the film, she's seen as, I hate Coin, me too. In the film, she doesn't seem as bad as Snow, right? She's just kind of like the stern protector, like you kind of learn the history of District 13, how it's well kept and how it's had its own issues and stuff. But like in the film, well, yeah, obviously in the film you never trusted her, but like, she's there to be like the main leader of the rebellion. In this book, kind of shows like the brutality, the authoritarian sense. Dare I say the Voltec overseer type shit. I called from the start that she was going to turn into him. Yeah, because her hair is white as snow. Yeah, like the contacts they use were cool as fuck. Yeah. But like, yeah, from the get go, practically, like, just a chapter or two in, Coin is, dare I say, a bitch. I know. It's terrible. I know. But yeah, I think they disguise Coin a lot better in the film. Because it's like she walks up on her battered and beaten prep team in the book. It's like, my God, I wonder who did this. I wonder who issued this. Yeah. So already from the get-go, like, nah. Okay. Chapter 5. They do fully cut that. They did change a lot in the books or in the movie. But, the message in the delivery's still all there, which is nice. Okay, chapter 5. Another force to contend with. Another power player who has decided to use me as a piece in her games right from the get-go, although things never seemed to go according to plan. First, there were the game makers making me their star, and then scrambling to recover from that handful of poisonous berries. Then President Snow trying to use me to put out the flames of rebellion, only to have my every move become inflammatory. Next, the rebels ensnaring me in the metal claw that lifted me from the arena, designating me to be their Mockingjay, and then having to recover from the shock that I might not want the wings. And now Coin, with her fistful of precious nukes and her well-oiled machine of a district, finding it's even harder to groom a Mockingjay than to catch one. But she has been the quickest to determine that I have an agenda of my own and am therefore not to be trusted. She has been the first to publicly brand me as a threat. I run my fingers through the thick layers of bubbles in my tub. Cleaning me up is just a preliminary step to determining my new look. With my acid-damaged hair, sunburned skin, and ugly scars, the prep team has to make me pretty and then damage, burn, and scar me in a more attractive way. Yikes. Remake her to Beauty Base 0, Fluvia ordered first thing this morning. We'll work from there. Beauty Base 0 turns out to be what a person would look like if they stepped out of bed looking flawless but natural. It means my nails are perfectly shaped but not polished, my hair soft and shiny but not styled, my skin smooth and clear but not painted. Wax the body hair and erase the dark circles, but don't make any noticeable enhancements. I suppose Cinna gave the same instructions the first day I arrived as a tribute in the capital. Only that was different, since I was a contestant. As a rebel, I thought I'd get to look more like myself, but it seems a televised rebel has her own standards to live up to. After I rinsed the lather from my body, I turned to find Octavia waiting with a towel. She is so altered from the woman I knew in the capital, stripped of the gaudy clothing, the heavy makeup, the dyes and jewelry, and knickknacks she adorned her hair with. I remember how one day she showed up with a bright pink tress studded with blinking colored lights shaped like mice. She told me she had several mice at home as pets. The thought repulsed me at the time, since we considered mice vermin, unless cooked. But perhaps Octavia liked them because they were small, soft, and squeaky, like her. As she pats me dry, I try to become acquainted with the District 13 Octavia. Her real hair turns out to be a nice auburn. Her face is ordinary, but has an undeniable sweetness. She's younger than I thought. Maybe early 20s, devoid of the 3-inch decorative nails. Her fingers appear almost stubby, and they can't stop trembling. I want to tell her it's okay, that I'll see that Coin never hurts her again, but the multicolored bruises flowering under her green skin only reminds me how impotent I am. Flavius, too, appears washed out without his purple lipstick and bright colors. He's managed to get his orange ringlets back in some sort of order, though. It's Venia who's the least changed. Her aqua hair lies flat instead of in spikes, and you can see the roots growing in gray. However, the tattoos were always her most striking characteristic, and they're as golden and shocking as ever. She comes and takes the towel from Octavia's hands. Katniss is not going to hurt us, she says quietly, but firmly to Octavia. Katniss did not even know we were here. Things will be better now. Octavia gives a slight nod, but doesn't dare look in the eye. It's no simple job getting me back to Beauty Base 0. Even with the elaborate arsenal of products, tools, and gadgets Plutarch had the foresight to bring from the capital. Yo, back at it again. Love it. Yeah. when I was reading book 1 and book 2, I would read like 5 chapters a stream, but we only did like about 3 last night. So I'm going to try and do some decent progress tonight, and then we might play like a game or something tomorrow. Yeah. I'm really liking this though. I'll have to see how I'm feeling tomorrow. We might do more of this or something else. Let's see. It's no simple job getting me back to Beauty Base Zero. Even with the elaborate arsenal products, tools, and gadgets Plutarch had the foresight to bring from the capital. My preps do pretty well until they try to address the spot on my arm where Joanna dug out the tracker. None of the medical team was focusing on looks when they patched up the gaping hole. Now I have a lumpy, jagged scar that ripples out over a space the size of an apple. Usually my sleeve covers it, but the way Cinna's Mockingjay costume is designed, the sleeves stop just above the elbow. It's such a concern that Fluvia and Plutarch are called in to discuss it. I swear the sight of it triggers Fluvia's gag reflex. For someone who works with a game maker, she's awfully sensitive. But I guess she's used to seeing unpleasant things only on a screen. Everyone knows I have a scar here, I say sullenly. Knowing it and seeing it are two different things, says Fluvia. It's positively but repulsive. Plutarch and I will think of something during lunch. It'll be fine, says Plutarch with a dismissive wave of his hand. Maybe an armband or something. Disgusted, I get dressed so I can head to the dining hall. My prep team huddles in a little group by the door. Are they bringing your food here? I ask. No, says Venya. We're supposed to go to a dining hall. I sigh inwardly as I imagine walking into a dining hall tailored by these 3. But people always stare at me anyway. This will be more of the same. I'll show you where it is, I say. Come on. OMG El Skeletio, what movie is this? It is Hunger Games Mockingjay, featuring Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Hutcherson. Yeah. Okay. I'm supposed to go to the dining hall. I saw inwardly as I imagine walking to the dining hall tailored by these 3. Okay. Yeah. I've been reading Hunger Games, and we're on book 3 right now. The goal is to read all the books, Sunset of the Reaping, before the movie drops in November. Josh Hutcherson, yes. Where what Whistle plays, you know? Okay. The covert glances and quiet murmurs I usually evoke are nothing compared to the reaction brought on by the sight of my bizarre-looking prep team. The gaping mouths, the finger-pointing, the exclamations. Just ignore them, I tell my prep team. Eyes downcast with mechanical movements, they follow me through the line, accepting bowls of grayish fish and okra stew and cups of water. We take seats at my table, beside a group from the scene. They show a little more restraint than the people from 13 do, although it may just be from embarrassment. Levi, who was my neighbor back in 12, gives a cautious hello to the preps. Oh wait, I actually just realized you're really reading a book. I thought this was just Minecraft. No, yeah, I'm reading Hunger Games Mockingjay. You read the first book? Hell yeah. No, yeah. What is it? My first, oh. Yeah, it's Caro. I need to, thank you for reminding me. I think after the stream, I'm gonna try and bring back the, axolotl guy. I need to go back to, like, Twitch, attachments or something. Because, yeah, I have a axolotl, like, pet or whatever, and you can do things with, like, channel points. When I first multi-streamed, at the start of this year, my first, like, TikTok live was me reading, The Hunger Games. With this setup, And I had the first banner, which is the one on the left, and then a picture of a book of, Hunger Games Book 1. And I had a skeleton pushing a TV on a cart, and I attached a YouTube link of Hunger Games but better video, and my little buddy would like push it out, and each chapter, um, I would pause the video and try to, you know, correlate with the chapters I read. Little Skelly, yes. I think I got rid of the group, but yeah, I think there's I think it's one of my TikToks or one of my clips on my Twitch. Uh, yeah, it's my little guy. It was really fun, but since there's no like Hunger Games but better Catching Fire, I couldn't like continue the bit. I might bring it back when we read Sunset of the Reaping. Someone made a fan movie of Haymitch's Hunger Game, but only in the context of like the lore in Catching Fire. Well, good night, Skeletino. I'll be back next week. Enjoy your stream. Thank you so much, Teddy. I missed you. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Cause yeah, someone made like a fan movie of Haymitch's Hunger Game before the mere thought of Sunset of the Reaping, and they just used the context of Haymitch's games from Catching Fire book. So I might bring that back when we get to Sunset. I got some ideas. I got some ideas for this whole streaming thing. It's just a shame that work kind of covers 80% of my day. Yeah. Um. Let's see. We take seats at my table beside a group of the seam. Okay. Um. And Gail's mother, Hazel, who must know about their imprisonment, holds up a spoonful of the stew. Don't worry, she says. Tastes better than it looks. Me being a workaholic, I feel that. Dude, yeah. Straight up workaholic out here. Tastes better than it looks. But it's Posey, Gail's 5-year-old sister, who helps the most. She scoots along the bench to Octavia and touches her skin with a tentative finger. You're green. Are you sick? It's a fashion thing, Posey. Like wearing lipstick, I say. It's meant to be pretty, whispers Octavia, and I can see the tears threatening to spill over her lashes. Posey considers this and says matter-of-factly, I think you're pretty in any color. The tiniest of smiles form on Octavia's lips. Thank you. If you really want to impress Posey, you'll have to dye yourself bright pink, says Gale, thumping his tray down beside me. That's her favorite color. Posey giggles and slides back down to her mother. Gale nods at Flavius's bowl. I wouldn't let that get cold. Doesn't improve the consistency. Everyone gets down to eating. The stew doesn't taste bad, but there's a certain sliminess that's hard to get around. Like you have to swallow every bite 3 times before it really goes down. Gale, who's not usually much of a talker during meals, makes an effort to keep the conversation going, asking about the makeover. I know it's his attempt at smoothing things over. We argued last night after he suggested I'd left Coin no choice but to counter my demand for the victor's safety with one of her own. Katniss, she's running this district. She can't do it if it seems like she's caving in on your will. You mean she can't stand any dissent, even if it's fair? I'd countered. I mean, you put her in a bad position, making her give PETA and the others immunity when we don't even know what sort of damage they might cause, Gale had said. So I should have just gone with the program and let the other tributes take their chances. Not that it matters, because that's what we're all doing anyway. That was when I'd slammed the door in his face. I hadn't sat with him at breakfast, and when Plutarch had sent him down to training this morning, I let him go without a word. I know he only spoke out of concern for me, but I really need him to be on my side, not Coin's. How can he not know that? After lunch, Gale and I are scheduled to go down a special defense to meet BT. As we ride the elevator, Gale finally says, "You're still angry." "And you're still not sorry," I reply. "I still stand by what I said." "Do you want me to lie about it?" he asks. "No, I want you to rethink it and come up with the right opinion, I tell him. But this just makes him laugh. I have to let it go. There's no point in trying to dictate what Gale thinks, which, if I'm honest, is one reason I trust him. The special defense level is situated almost as far down as the dungeons where we found the prep team. It's a beehive of rooms full of computers, labs, research equipment, and testing ranges. When we ask for BT, we're directed through the maze until we reach an enormous plate glass window. Inside is the first beautiful thing I've seen in District 13 compound, a replication of a meadow filled with real trees and flowering plants, and alive with hummingbirds. BT sits motionless in a wheelchair at the center of the meadow, watching a spring green bird hover in midair as it sips nectar from a large orange blossom. His eyes follow the bird as it darts away, and he catches sight of us. He gives a friendly wave for us to join him inside. The air is cool and breathable, not humid and muggy as I'd expected. From all sides comes the whir of tiny wings, which I used to confuse with the sound of insects in our woods at home. I have to wonder what sort of fluke allowed such a pleasing place to be built here. BT still has the pallor of someone in convalescence, but behind those fitting glasses, his eyes are alight with excitement. Aren't they magnificent? 13 has been studying their aerodynamics here for years, forward and backward flight, and speeds up to 60 miles per hour. If only I could build you wings like these, Katniss. Doubt I can manage them, BT, I laugh. Here, 1 second. Gone the next. Can you bring hummingbird down with an arrow? Can you bring a hummingbird down with an arrow, he asks. I've never tried. Not much meat on them, I answered. No, and you're not one to kill for sport, he says. I bet they'd be hard to shoot, though. You could snare them, maybe, Gale says. His face takes on the distant look it wears when he's working something out. Take a net with a very fine mesh, enclose an area, and leave a mouth of a couple square feet. Bait the inside with nectar flowers while they're feeding, snap the mouth shut. They'd fly away from the noise, but only encounter the far side of the net. Would that work? Asks BT. I don't know. Just an idea, says Gale. They might outsmart it. They might, but you're playing on their natural instincts to flee danger. Thinking like your prey, that's where you find their vulnerabilities, says BT. I remember something I don't like to think about. In preparation for the quell, I saw a tape where BT, who was still a boy, connected two wires that electrocuted a pack of kids who were hunting him. The convulsing bodies, the grotesque expressions, BT in the moments that led up to his victory in those long ago Hunger Games, watched the others die. Not his fault, only self-defense. We were all acting only in self-defense. Suddenly, I want to leave the hummingbird room before somebody starts setting up a snare. BT, Plutarch said you had something for me. Right, I do. Your new bow. He pressed a hand control on the arm of the chair and wheels out of the room. As we follow him through the twists and turns of special defense, he explains about the chair. I can walk a little now. It's just that I tire so quickly. It's easier for me to get around this way. How's Finnick doing? He's... Oh, Kiro, you heading to bed? Alright, you have a good night, Kiro. I gotta get up early. Good night, Bullet. Sweet dreams. Alrighty, buds. I will continue on, let's see. Chapter 5. Okay. I will reach up to chapter 6. So you guys can catch the rest of the stream as a VOD on my Twitch. Y'all have a good night. He's having concentration problems. I answer, I don't want to say he had a complete mental breakdown. Concentration problems, eh? BT smiles grimly. If you knew what Finnick's been through the last few days, you'd know how remarkable it is he's still with us at all. Tell him I've been working on a new trident for him, though, will you? Something to distract him a little. Distraction seems to be the last thing Finnick needs, but I promise to pass on the message. 4 soldiers guard the entrance to the hall marked Special Weaponry. Checking the schedules printed on our forearms is just a preliminary step. We also have fingerprint, retinal, and DNA scans, and have to step through special metal detectors. BT has to leave his wheelchair outside, although they provide him with another once we're through security. I find the whole thing bizarre because I can't imagine anyone raised in District 13 being a threat to government would have to guard against. Have these precautions been put in place because of the recent influx of immigrants? At the door of the armory, we encounter a second round of identification checks, as if my DNA might have changed in the time it took to walk 20 yards down the hallway, and are finally allowed to enter the weapons collection. I have to admit, the arsenal takes my breath away. Row upon row of firearms, launchers, explosives, armored vehicles. Of course, the airborne division is housed separately, BT tells us. Hello! Hello, hello! Welcome, welcome. We'll be watching that. I like the story so far. Hell yeah. Hello, hello. One of my piano vids are doing kind of good. Nice. Oh, you play piano? Hell yeah. That's awesome. I play a little bit of guitar and a little bit of bass. Just started learning. I should learn piano. I do have like a MIDI, like a digital piano, like a 1/4, 1/5 size of a normal piano keys. I should learn some chords here and there. We are on chapter 5, and we're on page 68 of Mockingjay. Yeah. Okay. Of course, I say, as if this would be self-evident. I don't know where a simple bow and arrow could possibly find a place in all this high-tech equipment, but then we come upon a wall of deadly archery weapons. I played with a lot of the capital's weapons in training, but none designed for military combat. I focused my attention on a lethal-looking bow, so loaded down with scopes and gadgetry, I'm certain I can't even lift it, let alone shoot it. Gale, maybe you'd like to try out a few of these, says BT. Seriously? Gale asks. You'll be issued a gun eventually for battle, of course, but if you appear as part of Katniss's team in the propos, one of these would look a little showier. I thought you might like to find one that suits you, says BT. Yeah, I would. Gale's hands close around the very bow that caught my attention a moment ago, and he hefts it onto his shoulder. He points it around the room, peering through the scope. That doesn't seem very fair to the deer, I say. Wouldn't be using it on deer, would I? He answers. I'll be right back, says BT. He presses a code into a panel and a small doorway opens. I watch until he disappeared and the door is shut. So it'd be easy for you, using that on people, I ask. I didn't say that. Gale drops the bow on his side. But if I had had a weapon that could have stopped what I saw happen in 12, if I had a weapon that could have kept you out of the arena, I'd have used it. Me too, I admit. But I don't know what to tell him about the aftermath of killing a person, about how they never leave you. BT wheels back in with a tall black rectangular case awkwardly positioned between his footrest and his shoulder. He comes to a halt and tilts it forward to me. For you. I set the case flat on the floor and undo the latches along one side. The top opens on silent hinges. Inside the case, on a bed of cushioned maroon velvet, lies a stunning black bow. Oh, I whisper in admiration. I lift it carefully into the air to admire the exquisite balance, the elegant design, and the curve of the limbs that somehow suggest the wings of a bird extended in flight. There's something else I have to hold very still to make sure I'm not imagining it. No, the bow is alive in my hands. I press it against my cheek and feel the slight hum travel through the bones of my face. What's it doing? I ask. Saying hello, explains BT with a grin. It heard your voice. It recognizes my voice? I ask. Only your voice, he tells me. You see, they wanted me to design a bow based purely on looks, as part of your costume, you know? But I kept thinking, what a waste. I mean, what if you do need it sometime as more than a fashion accessory? So I left the outside simple and left the inside to my imagination. Best explained in practice, though. Want to try those out? We do. The target range has already been prepared for us. The arrows that BT designed are no less remarkable than the bow. Between the two, I can shoot with accuracy over 100 yards. The variety of arrows, razor sharp, incendiary, explosive, turn the bow into a multi purpose weapon. Each one is recognizable by the distinctive colored shaft. I have the option of voice override at any time, but have no idea why I would use it. To deactivate the bow's special properties, I need only tell it good night. Then it goes to sleep until the sound of my voice wakes it again. I'm in good spirits by the time I get back to the prep team, leaving BT and Gale behind. I sit patiently through the rest of the paint job and don my costume, which now includes a bloody bandage over the scar on my arm that indicate I've been in recent combat. Venia affixes my Mockingjay pin over my heart. I take up my bow and the sheath of normal arrows that BT made, knowing they would never let me walk around with the loaded ones. Then we're out on the sound stage, where I seem to stand for hours while they adjust makeup and lighting and smoke levels. Eventually, the commands coming via intercom from the invisible people in the mysterious glassed in booth become fewer and fewer. Fluvia and Plutarch spend more time studying and less time adjusting me. Finally, there's quiet on the set. For a full 5 minutes, I am simply considered. Then Plutarch says, I think that does it. I think too. I think that does it too. I'm beckoned over to a monitor. They play back the last few minutes of taping, and I watch the woman on the screen. Her body seems larger in stature, more imposing than mine. Her face smudged but sexy. Her brows black and drawn in an angle of defiance. Wisps of smoke, suggesting that she has either just been extinguished or is about to burst into flames, rise from her clothes. I do not know who this person is. Finnick, who's been wandering around the set for a few hours, comes up behind me and says with a hint of his old humor, they'll either want to kill you, kiss you, or be you. Everyone's so excited, so pleased with their work. It's nearly time to break for dinner, but they insist we continue. Tomorrow we'll focus on speeches and interviews and have me pretend to be in rebel battles. Today, they want just one slogan, just one line that they can work into a short propo to show to coin. People of Panem, we fight, we dare, we end our hunger for justice. That's the line. I can tell by the way they present it that they've spent months, maybe years working it out, and are really proud of it. Seems like a mouthful to me, though, and stiff. I can't imagine actually saying it in real life, unless I was using a capital accent and making fun of it. Like when Gale and I used to imitate Effie Trinket's, May the odds be ever in your favor. But Fluvia's right in my face, describing a battle I've just been in, and how my comrades in arms are all lying dead around me, and how, to rally the living, I must turn to the camera and shout out the line. I'm hustled back to my place, and the smoke machine kicks in. Someone calls for quiet, the cameras start rolling, and I hear action. So I hold my bow over my head and yell with all the anger I can muster. People of Panem, we fight, we dare, we end our hunger for justice. There's dead silence on the set. It goes on and on. Finally, the intercom crackles, and Haymitch's acerbic laugh fills the studio. He contains himself just long enough to say, and that, my friends, is how a revolution dies. Ooh, they don't like her. She's not a good actor. She's she's a victim, not an actor. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get water and then we're gonna read chapter 6. Damn. I'm remembering that moment from the movie. Oh, Woody Harrelson, man. He's so good as Haymitch Abernathy. Such a good pick. Okay, so chapter 6. She got ready for the optics, the propos, and turns out she's not good with line delivery, which is terrible. The shock of hearing Haymitch's voice yesterday, of learning that he was not only functional, but had some measure of control over my life again, enraged me. I left the studio directly and refused to acknowledge his comments from the booth today. Even so, I knew immediately he was right about my performance. It took the whole of this morning for him to convince the others of my limitations, that I can't pull it off. I can't stand in a television studio wearing a costume and makeup in a cloud of fake smoke and rally the districts to victory. Catch fire, but don't burn. Mock J, but not Leno. We're reading Mock and J, B-Dog. Hell yeah. Let's see. I can't stand in a television studio wearing a costume and makeup in a cloud of fake smoke and rally the districts to victory. It's amazing, really, how long I have survived the cameras. The credit for that, of course, goes to PETA. Bah, close enough. Alone I can't be the Mockingjay. We gather around the huge table in command. Coin and her people, Plutarch, Fluvia, and my prep team. A group from 12 that includes Haymitch and Gale, but also a few others I can't explain, like Levi and Greasy Say. At the last minute, Finnick wheels Beatty in, accompanied by Dalton, the cattle expert from 10. I suppose that Coin has assembled this strange assortment of people as witnesses to my failure. However, it's Haymitch who welcomes everyone, and by his words I understand that they have come at his personal invitation. This is the first time we've been in a room together since I clawed him. I avoid looking at him directly, but I catch a glimpse of his reflection in one of the shiny control consoles along the wall. He looks slightly yellow and has lost a lot of weight, giving him a shrunken appearance. For a second, I'm afraid he's dying. I have to remind myself that I don't care. The first thing Haymitch does is to show the footage we've just shot. I seem to have reached some new low under Plutarch and Fluvius' guidance. Both my voice and body have a jerky, disjointed quality, like a puppet being manipulated by unseen forces. All right, Haymitch says when it's over. Would anyone like to argue that this is of use to us in winning the war? No one does. That saves time. So let's all be quiet for a minute. I want everyone to think of one incident where Katniss Everdeen genuinely moved you. Not where you were jealous of her hairstyle or her dress when in flames or she made a halfway decent shot with an arrow. Not where Peeta was making you like her. I want to hear one moment where she made you feel something real. Quiet stretches out, and I'm beginning to think it will never end when Levi speaks up. When she volunteered to take Prim's place at the reaping because I'm sure she thought she was going to die. Good. Excellent example, says Haymitch. He takes a purple marker and writes on a notepad, volunteered for sister at reaping. Haymitch looks around the table. somebody else. I'm surprised that the next speaker is Boggs, who I think of as a muscular robot that does Coin's bidding, when she sang the song while the little girl died. Somewhere in my head, an image surfaces of Boggs with a young boy perched up on his hip. In the dining hall, I think. Maybe he's not a robot after all. Who didn't get choked up at that, right? Says Hamish, writing it down. I cried when she drugged PETA so she could go get him medicine when she kissed him goodbye, blurts out Octavia. Then she covers her mouth like she's sure this was a bad mistake. But Hamish only nods. Oh yeah, drugs PETA to save his life. Very nice. The moments begin to come thick and fast and in no particular order. When I took Rue on as an ally, extended my hand to Shaft on interview night, tried to carry Mags, and again when I held out those berries that meant different things to different people. Love for PETA, refusal to give in under impossible odds, defiance of the capital's inhumanity. Hamish holds up the notepad. So the question is, what do all of these have in common? They were Katnisses, says Gale quietly. No one told her what to do or say. Unscripted, yes, says BT. He reaches over and pats my hand. So we should just leave you alone, right? People laugh. I even smile a little. Well, that's all very nice, but not very helpful, says Fluvia, peevishly. Unfortunately, her opportunities for being wonderful are rather limited here in 13, so unless you're suggesting we toss her into the middle of combat, that's exactly what I'm suggesting, says Hamish. Put her out in the field and just keep the cameras rolling. But people think she's pregnant, Gale points out. We'll spread the word that she lost the baby from the electrical shock in the arena, Plutarch replies. Very sad. Very unfortunate. Yeah, what a shame. The idea of sending me into combat is controversial, but Hamish has a pretty tight case. If I perform well only in real life circumstances, then into them I should go. Every time we coach her or give her lines, the best we can hope for is okay. It has to come from her. That's what people are responding to. Even if we're careful, we can't guarantee her safety, says Boggs. She'll be a target for every. I want to go, I break in. I'm no help to the rebels here. And if you're killed, asks Coin. Make sure you get some footage. You can use that anyway, I answer. Fine, says Coin. But let's take it one step at a time. Find the least dangerous situation that can evoke some spontaneity in you. She walks around studying the illuminated district maps that show the ongoing troop positions in the war. Take her to 8 this afternoon. There was heavy bombing this morning, but the raid seems to have run its course. I want her armed with a squad of bodyguards, camera crew on the ground. Hamish, you'll be airborne in combat with her. Let's see what happens there. Does anyone have any other comments? Wash her face, says Dalton. Everyone turns to him. She's still a girl, and you made her look 35. Feels wrong, like something the Capitol would do. As Coin adjourns the meeting, Hamish asks her if he can speak to me privately. The others leave except for Gale, who lingers uncertainly by my side. What are you worried about? Hamish asks him. I'm the one who needs the bodyguard. It's okay, I tell Gale. And he goes. Then there's just the hum of the instruments, the purr of the ventilation system. Hamish takes the seat across from me. We're going to have to work together again, so go ahead. Just say it. I think of the snarling, cruel exchange back on the hovercraft, the bitterness that followed, but all I say is, I can't believe you didn't rescue PETA. I know, he replies. There's a sense of incompleteness, and not because he hasn't apologized, but because we were a team. We had a deal to keep PETA safe, a drunken, unrealistic deal made in the dark of night, but a deal just the same. And in my heart of hearts, I know we both failed. No, you say it, I tell him. I can't believe you let him out of your sight that night, says Hamish. I nod. That's it. I play it over and over in my head. What I could have done to keep him by my side without breaking the alliance. But nothing comes to me. You didn't have a choice. And even if I could have made Plutarch stay and rescue him that night, the whole hovercraft would have gone down. We barely got out as it was. I finally meet Hamish's eyes, seam eyes, gray and deep and ringed with the circles of sleepless nights. He's not dead yet, Katniss. We're still in the game, I try to say with the opportun optimism, but my voice cracks. Still in, and I'm still your mentor. Hamish points his marker at me. When you're on the ground, remember I'm airborne. I'll have the better view, so do what I tell you. We'll see, I answer. I return to the remake room and watch the streaks of makeup disappear down the drain as I scrub my face clean. The person in the mirror looks ragged, with her uneven skin and tired eyes, but she looks like me. I rip the armband off, revealing the ugly scar from the tracker. There, that looks like me more. Since I'll be in a combat zone, BT helps me with armor Cinna designed. A helmet of some interwoven metal that fits close to my head. The material is supple, like fabric, and can be drawn back like a hood in case I don't want it up full time. A vest to reinforce the protection over my vital organs. A small white earpiece that attaches to my collar by a wire. BT secures a mask to my belt that I don't have to wear unless there's a gas attack. If you see anyone dropping for reasons you can't explain, put it on immediately, he says. Finally, he straps a sheath divided into 3 cylinders of arrows to my back. Just remember, right side fire, left side explosive, center regular. You shouldn't need them, but better safe than sorry. Boggs show up to escort me down to the airborne division just as the elevator arrives. Finnick appears in a state of agitation. Katniss, they won't let me go. I told them I'm fine, but they won't even let me ride in the hovercraft. I take in Finnick, his bare legs showing between his hospital gown and slippers, his tangle of hair, his half-knotted rope twisted around his fingers, the wild look in his eyes. I know any plea on my part will be useless. Even I don't think it's a good idea to bring him. So I smack my hand to my forehead and say, "Oh, I forgot. It's this stupid concussion. I was supposed to tell you to report to BT and special weaponry. He's designed a new trident for you." At the word trident, it's as if the old Finnick resurfaces. Really? What's it do? Right, of course. I guess I better get down there, he says. Finnick, I say? Maybe some pants? He looks down at his legs as if noticing his outfit for the first time. Then he whips off his hospital gown, leaving him in just his underwear. Why? Do you find this, he strikes a ridiculously provocative pose, distracting? I can't help laughing because it's funny, and it's extra funny because it makes Boggs look so uncomfortable, and I'm happy because Finnick actually sounds like the guy I met at the Quarter Quell. W. Finnick, dude. I'm only human, Odair. I get in before the elevator door closes. Sorry, I say to Boggs. Don't be. I thought you handled that well, he says. Better than my having to arrest him anyway. Yeah, I say. I sneak a sidelong glance at him. He's probably in his mid-40s with close-cropped gray hair and blue eyes, incredible posture. He's spoken out twice today in ways that make me think he would rather be friends than enemies. Maybe I should give him a chance, but he just seems so in step with Coin. There's a series of loud clicks. The elevator comes to a slight pause and then begins to move laterally to the left. It goes sideways, I ask. Yes, there's a whole network of elevator paths under 13, he answers. This one lies just above the transport spoke to the 5th airlift platform. It's taking us to the hangar. The dungeons, special defense, somewhere food is grown, power generated, air and water purified. 13 is even larger than I thought. Can't take credit for much of it, says Boggs. We basically inherited the place. It's been all we can do to keep it running. The clicks resume. We drove down again briefly. We dropped down again briefly. Just a couple of levels, and the doors opened on the hangar. Oh, I let out involuntarily as the sight of the fleet. Row after row of different kinds of hovercraft. Did you inherit these too? Some we manufactured. Some were part of the capital's air force. They've been updated, of course, says Boggs. I feel that twinge of hatred against 13 again. So you had all these, and you left the rest of the districts defenseless against the capital. It's not that simple, he shoots back. We were in no position to launch a counterattack until recently. We could barely stay alive. After we'd overthrown and executed the capital's people, only a handful of us even knew how to pilot. We could have nuked them with missiles, yes, but there's always the larger question. If we engage in that type of war with the capital, would there be any human life left? That sounds like what PETA said, and you all called him a traitor, I countered. Because he called for a ceasefire, says Boggs. You'll notice neither side has launched nuclear weapons. We're working it out the old-fashioned way. Over here, Soldier Everdeen. He indicates one of the smaller hovercraft. I mount the stairs and find it packed with the television crew and equipment. Everyone else is dressed in 13's dark gray military jumpsuits, even Hamish, although he seems unhappy about the snugness of his collar. Fluvia Cardew hustles over and makes a sound of frustration when she sees my clean face. All that work down the drain. I'm not blaming you, Katniss. It's just that very few people are born with camera-ready faces. Like him. She snags Gale, who's in conversation with Plutarch, and spins him towards us. Isn't he handsome? Gale doesn't look striking in the uniform, I guess. Gale does look striking in the uniform. But the question just embarrasses both of us, given our history. I'm trying to think of a witty comeback when Boggs says, brusquely, well, don't expect us to be too impressed. We just saw Finnick Odair in his underwear. I decide to go ahead and like Boggs. There's a warning of the upcoming takeoff, and I strap myself into a seat next to Gale, facing off with Hamish and Plutarch. We glide through a maze of tunnels that opens out onto a platform. Some sort of elevator device lifts the craft slowly up through the levels. All at once we're outside in a large field surrounded by woods. Then we rise off the platform and become wrapped in clouds. Now that the flurry of activity leading up to this mission is over, I realize I have no idea what I'm facing on this trip to District 8. In fact, I know very little about the actual state of the war, or what it would take to win it, or what would happen if we did. Plutarch tries to lay it out in simple terms for me. First of all, every district is currently at war with the capital except 2, which has always had a favored relationship with our enemies despite its participation in the Hunger Games. They got more food and better living conditions. After the Dark Days and the supposed destruction of 13, District 2 became the capital's new center of defense. Although it's publicly presented as the home of the nation's stone quarries, in the same way that 13 was known for graphite mining, District 2 not only manufactures weaponry, it trains and even supplies peacekeepers. You mean some of the peacekeepers are born in 2, I ask? I thought they all came from the capital. Plutarch nods. That's what you're supposed to think, and some do come from the capital, but its population could never sustain a force that size. Then there's the problem of recruiting capital-raised citizens for a dull life of deprivation in the districts. A 20-year commitment to the peacekeepers, no marriage, no children allowed. Some buy into it for honor of the thing, others take it on as an alternative to punishment. For instance, join the peacekeepers and your debts are forgiven. Many people are swamped in debt in the capital, but not all of them are fit for military duty. So, District 2 is where we turn for additional troops. It's a way for their people to escape poverty and a life in the quarries. They're raised with a warrior mindset. You've seen how eager their children are to volunteer to be tributes. Cato and Clove, Brutus and Anobria. I've seen their eagerness and their bloodlust too. But all the other districts are on our side, I ask? Yes. Our goal is to take over the districts one by one, ending with District 2, thus cutting off the capital's supply chain. Then, once it's weakened, we invade the capital itself, says Plutarch. That will be a whole other type of challenge, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Gale. If we win, who would be in charge of the government? Gale asks. Everyone, Plutarch tells him. We're going to form a republic where the people of each district and the capital can elect their own representatives to be their voice in a centralized government. Don't look so suspicious. It's worked before. In books, Hamish mutters. In history books, says Plutarch. And if our ancestors could do it, then we can too. Frankly, our ancestors don't seem much to brag about. I mean, look at the state they left us in. With the wars and the broken planet, clearly they didn't care about what would happen to the people who came after them. But this republic idea sounds like an improvement over our current government. And if we lose, I ask? If we lose? Plutarch looks out at the clouds and an ironic smile twists his lips. Then I would expect next year's Hunger Games to be quite unforgettable. That reminds me. He takes a vial from his vest, shakes a few deep violet pills into his hand, and holds them out to us. We name them Nightlock. In your honor, Katniss. The rebels can't afford for any of us to be captured now, but I promise it will be completely painless. I take hold of a capsule, unsure where to put it. Plutarch taps a spot on his shoulder at the front of my left sleeve. I examine it and find a tiny pocket that both secures and conceals the pill. Even if my hands were tied, I could lean my head forward and bite it free. Cinna, it seems, has thought of everything. Oh. All right. No capture. Let's see. There's chapter 7. Let me get a little bit of water and then, you know what? Let's read chapter 7. We're gonna read chapter 7. Hello. We are about to start chapter 7. And then I think at the end of chapter 7, I'll be good. We're doing odd chapters. Mainly because I'm working more than when I did 5 chapters earlier this year. So I'm a little burnt out. But we're going to start chapter 7 here. Okay. Chapter 7. The hovercraft makes a quick spiral descent onto a wide road on the outskirts of 8. Almost immediately, the doors open, the stairs slide into place, and we're spit out onto the asphalt. The moment the last person disembarks, the equipment retracts. Then the craft lifts off and vanishes. I'm left with a bodyguard made up of Gale, Boggs, and 2 other soldiers. Lonnie. Wait, is Lonnie here? Wait. Do I see Lonnie? Wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna keep reading. Let's see. Boggs and 2 other soldiers. The TV crew consists of a pair of burly capital cameramen and heavy mobile cameras encasing their bodies like insect shells. A woman director named Cressida, who has a shaved head tattooed with green vines, and her assistant Messala, a slim young man with several sets of earrings. On careful observation, I see his tongue has been pierced too, and he wears a stud with a silver ball at the size of a marble. Boggs hustles us off the road toward a row of warehouses as a second hovercraft comes in for a landing. This one brings crates of medical supplies and a crew of 6 medics. I can tell by their distinctive white outfits. We all follow Boggs down an alley that runs between two dull gray warehouses. Only the occasional access ladder to the roof interrupts the scarred metal walls. When we emerge onto the street, it's like we've entered another world. Oh. The wounded from this morning's bombing are being brought in on homemade stretchers in wheelbarrows, on crates slung across shoulders, and clenched tight in arms, bleeding, limbless, unconscious, propelled by desperate people to a warehouse with a sloppily painted H above the doorway. It's a scene from my old kitchen, where my mother treated the dying, multiplied by 10, by 50, by 100. I'd expected bomb out buildings and instead find myself confronted with broken human bodies. This is where they plan on filming me? I turned Boggs. This won't work, I say. I won't be good here. He must see the panic in my eyes because he stops a moment and places his hands on my shoulders. You will. Just let them see you. That will do more for them than any doctor in the world could. A woman directing the incoming patients catches sight of us, does a sort of double take, and then strides over. Her dark brown eyes are puffy with fatigue and she smells of metal and sweat. A bandage around her throat needed changing about 3 days ago. The strap of the automatic weapon slung across her back digs into her neck, and she shifts her shoulder to reposition it. With a jerk of her thumb, she orders the medics onto the warehouse. They comply without question. This is Commander Paylor of 8, says Boggs. Commander, Soldier Katniss Everdeen. She looks young to be a commander, early 30s, but there's an authoritative tone in her voice that makes you feel her appointment wasn't arbitrary. Beside her, in my spanking new outfit, scrubbed and shiny, I feel like a recently hatched chick, untested and only just learning how to navigate the world. Yeah, I know who she is, says Paylor. You're alive, then. We weren't sure. Am I wrong, or is there a note of accusation in her voice? I'm still not sure myself, I answer. Been in recovery, Boggs taps his head. Bad concussion. He lowers his voice a moment. Miscarriage. But she insisted on coming by to see you're wounded. Well, we've got plenty of those, says Paylor. You think this is a good idea? Says Gale, frowning at the hospital. Assembling your wounded like this? I don't. Any sort of contagious disease would spread through this place like wildfire. I think it's slightly better than leaving them to die, says Paylor. That's not what I meant, Gale tells her. Currently that's my other option. But if you come up with a third and get coin to back it, I'm all ears. Paylor waves me toward the door. Come on in, Mockingjay, and by all means, bring your friends. I glance back at the freak show that is my crew, steel myself, and follow her into the hospital. Some sort of heavy industrial curtain hangs the length of the building, forming a sizable corridor. Corpses lie side by side, curtain brushing their heads, while cloths concealing their faces. We've got a mass grave started a few blocks west of here. But I can't spare the manpower to move them yet, says Paylor. She finds a slit in the curtain and opens it wide. My fingers wrap around Gale's wrist. Don't leave my side, I say under my breath. I'm right here, he answers quietly. I step through the curtain and my senses are assaulted. My first impulse is to cover my nose, to block out the stench of soiled linen, putrefying flesh, and vomit, all ripening in the heat of the warehouse. They've propped open skylights that crisscross the high metal roof, but any air that managing to get in can't make a dent in the fog below. Jesus. The thin shafts of sunlight provide the only illumination, and as my eyes adjust, I can make out row upon row of wounded in cots, on pallets, on the floor because there's so many to claim the space. The drone of black flies, the moaning of people in pain, and the sobs of their tending loved ones have combined into a retching chorus. God. We have no real hospitals in the districts. We die at home, which at the moment seems a far desirable alternative to what lies in front of me. Then I remember that many of these people probably lost their homes in the bombings. Sweat begins to run down my back, fill my palms. I breathe through my mouth in an attempt to diminish the smell. Black spots swim across my field of vision, and I think there's really good chance I could faint. But then I caught sight of Palor, who's watching me so closely, waiting to see what I am made of, and if any of them have been right to think they can count on me. So I let it go. So I let go of Gale and force myself to move deeper into the warehouse, to walk into the narrow strip between two rows of beds. Katniss, a voice croaks out from my left, breaking apart from the general din. Katniss? A hand reaches for me out in the haze. I cling to it for support. Attached to the hand is a young woman with an injured leg. Blood has seeped through the heavy bandages, which are crawling with flies. Her face reflects her pain, but something else, too. Something that seems completely encourages with her situation. Is it really you? Yeah, it's me, I get out. Joy. That's the expression on her face. At the sound of my voice, it brightens, erases the suffering momentarily. You're alive. We didn't know. People said you were, but we didn't know, she said excitedly. I got pretty banged up, but I got better, I say. Just like you will. I've got to tell my brother. The woman struggles to sit up and calls to someone a few beds down. Eddie, Eddie, she's here. It's Katniss Everdeen. A boy, probably about 12 years old, turns to us. Bandages obscure half of his face. The side of his mouth I can see opens as if to utter an exclamation. I go to him, push his damp brown curls back from his forehead, murmur a greeting. I can't speak, but his one good eye fixes on me with such intensity as if he's trying to memorize every detail of my face. I hear my name rippling through the hot air, spreading out into the hospital. Katniss, Katniss Everdeen. The sounds of pain and grief begin to recede, to be replaced by words of anticipation. From all sides, voices beckon me. I begin to move, clasping the hands extended to me, touching the sound parts of those unable to move their limbs, saying, "Hello, how are you? Good to meet you." Nothing of importance, no amazing words of inspiration. But it doesn't matter. Boggs is right. It's the sight of me, alive, that is the inspiration. Hungry fingers devour me, wanting to feel my flesh. As a stricken man clutches my face between his hands, I send a silent thank you to Dalton for suggesting I wash off the makeup. How ridiculous, how perverse I would feel presenting that painted capital mask to these people. The damage, the fatigue, the imperfections. That's how they recognize me, why I belong to them. Despite his controversial interview with Caesar, many ask about Peeta, assuring me that they know he was speaking under duress. I do my best to sound positive about our future, but people are truly devastated when they learn I've lost the baby. I want to come clean and tell one weeping woman that it was all a hoax, a move in the game, but to present Peeta as a liar now would not help his image, or mine, or the cause. I begin to fully understand the lengths of which people have gone to protect me, what I mean to the rebels, my ongoing struggle against the capital, which has so often felt like a solitary journey, has not been undertaken alone. I have had thousands upon thousands of people from the districts at my side. I was their Mockingjay long before I accepted the role. A new sensation begins to germinate inside me, but it takes until I am standing on a table waving my final goodbyes to the hoarse chanting of my name to define it. Power. I have a kind of power I never knew I possessed. Snow knew it as soon as I held out those berries. Plutarch knew when he rescued me from the arena, and Coin knows now. So much so that she must publicly remind her people that I am not in control. When we're outside again, I lean against the warehouse, catching my breath, accepting the canteen of water from Boggs. You did great, he says. I didn't faint or throw up or run out screaming. Mostly I just rode the wave of emotion rolling through the place. We got some nice stuff in there, says Chrysidia. I look at the insect cameramen. Prescription. Perspiration. Yeah, perspiration pouring from under their equipment. Masala scribbling notes. I had forgotten they were even filming me. I didn't do much, really, I say. You have to give yourself some credit for what you've done in the past, says Boggs. What I've done in the past? I think of the trail of destruction in my wake. My knees weaken and I slide down to a sitting position. That's a mixed bag. Well, you're not perfect by a long shot, but times being what they are, you'll have to do, says Boggs. Gale squats down beside me, shaking his head. I can't believe you let all those people touch you. I kept expecting you to make a break for the door. This Gale guy, I swear. Shut up, I say with a laugh. Your mother's going to be very proud when she sees the footage, he says. My mother won't even notice me. She'll be too appalled by the conditions in here. I turn to Boggs and ask, is it like this in every district? Yes. Most are under attack. We're trying to get in aid wherever we can, but it's not enough. He stops a moment, distracted by something in his earpiece. I realize I haven't heard Hamish's voice once, and fiddle with mine, wondering if it's broken. We're to get to the airship immediately, Boggs says, lifting me to my feet with one hand. There's a problem. What kind of problem? Asks Gale. Incoming bombers, says Boggs. He reaches behind my neck and yanks Cinna's helmet up, bleh. He reached behind my neck and yanked Cinna's helmet up onto my head. Let's move. Unsure of what's going on, I take off running along the front of the warehouse, heading for the alley that leads to the airship, but I don't sense any immediate threat. The sky is an empty, cloudless blue. The streets clear except for the people hauling the wounded to the hospital. There's no enemy, no alarm. Then, the sirens begin to wail. Within seconds, a low-flying V-shaped formation of capital hoverplanes appear above us, and the bombs begin to fall. I'm blown off my feet into the front wall of the warehouse. There's a searing pain just above the back of my right knee. Something has struck my back as well, but doesn't seem to have penetrated my vest. I try to get up, but Boggs pushes me back down, shielding my body with his own. The ground ripples under me as a bomb after bomb drops from the planes and detonates. It's a horrifying sensation being pinned against the wall as the bombs rain down. What was that expression my father used to use for easy kills? Like shooting fish in a barrel. We are the fish, the street, the barrel. Katniss, I'm startled by Hamish's voice in my ear. What? Yes, what? I'm here, I answer. Listen to me, we can't land during the bombing, but it's imperative you're not spotted, he says. So, they don't know I'm here, I assume? As usual, it was my presence that brought on punishment. Intelligence thinks no, that this raid was already scheduled, says Hamish. Now Plutarch's voice comes in, calm but forceful, the voice of a head game maker used to calling the shots under pressure. There's a light blue warehouse 3 down from you. It has a bunker in the far north corner. Can you get there? We'll do our best, says Boggs. Plutarch must be in everyone's ear, because my bodyguards and crew are getting up. My eye instinctively searches for Gale and sees he's on his feet, apparently unharmed. You've got maybe 45 seconds to the next wave, says Plutarch. I give a grunt of pain as my right leg takes the weight of my body, but I keep moving. No time to examine the injury. Better not look now, anyway. Fortunately, I have on shoes that Cinna designed. They grip the asphalt on contact and sprint free of it on release. I'd be hopeless in that ill-fitting pair that 13 assigned to me. Boggs has the lead, but no one else passes me. Instead, they match my pace, protecting my sides, my back. I force myself into a sprint as the seconds tick away. We pass the second gray warehouse and run along a dirt brown building. Up ahead, I see a faded blue facade, home of the bunker. We have just reached another alley, need only to cross it to arrive at the door, when the next wave of bombs begin. I instinctively dive into the alley and roll toward the blue wall. This time it's Gale who throws himself over me to protect one more layer of protection from the bombing. It seems to go on longer this time, but we are farther away. I shift onto my side and find myself looking directly into Gale's eyes. For an instant, the world recedes, and there's just his flushed face, his pulse visible at his temple, his lips slightly parted as he tries to catch his breath. You alright? He asks, his words nearly drowned by an explosion. Yeah, I don't think they've seen me, I answer. I mean, they're not following us. No, they've targeted something else, says Gale. I know, but there's nothing back there but the realization hits us at the same time. The hospital. Instantly, Gale's up and shouting to the others, They're targeting the hospital. Not your problem, says Plutarch firmly. Get to the bunker. But there's nothing there but the wounded, I say. Katniss. I hear the warning note in Haymitch's voice and know what's coming. Don't you even think about it. I yanked the earpiece free and let it hang from its wire. With that distraction gone, I hear another sound. Machine gun fire coming from the roof of the dirt brown warehouse across the alley. Someone is returning fire. Before anyone can stop me, I make a dash for an access ladder and begin to scale it, climbing. One of the things I do best. Don't stop, I hear Gale say behind me. Then there's the sound of his boot on someone's face. If it belongs to Boggs, Gale's going to pay for it dearly later on. I make the roof and drag myself onto the tar. I stop long enough to pull Gale up beside me, and then we take off for the row of machine gun nests on the street side of the warehouse. Each looks to be manned by a few rebels. We skid into a nest with a pair of soldiers hunching down behind the barrier. Boggs knows you're up here? To my left, I see Paylor behind one of the guns, looking at us quizzically. I try to be evasive without flat out lying. He knows where we are, all right. Paylor laughs. I bet he does. You been trained in these? She slaps the stock of her gun. I have, in 13, says Gale, but I'd rather use my own weapons. Yes, we've got our bows. I hold mine up, then realize how decorative it must seem. It's more deadly than it looks. it it would have to be, says Paylor. Alright, we expect at least 3 more waves. They have to drop their sight shields before they release the bombs. That's our chance. Stay low. I position myself to shoot from one knee. Better start with fire, says Gale. I nod and pull an arrow from my right sheath. If we miss our targets, these arrows will land somewhere, probably the warehouse across the street. A fire can be put out, but the damage an explosive can do may be irreparable. Suddenly, they appear in the sky. 2 blocks down, maybe 100 yards above us, 7 small bombers in a V formation. Geese, I yell at Gale. He'll know exactly what I mean. During migration season, when we hunt fowl, we've developed a system of dividing the birds so we don't both target the same ones. I get the far side of the V, Gale takes the near, and we alternate shots at the front bird. There's no time for further discussion. I estimate the lead time on the hoverplanes and let my arrow fly. I catch the inside wing of one, causing it to burst into flames. Gale just misses the point plane. A fire blooms on an empty warehouse roof across from us. He swears under his breath. The hoverplane I hit swerves out of formation, but still releases its bombs. It doesn't disappear, though. Neither does one other I assume was hit by gunfire. The damage must prevent the sight shield from reactivating. Good shot, says Gale. I wasn't even aiming for that one, I mutter. I'd set my sights on the plane in front of it. They're faster than we think. Positions, Paylor shouts. The next wave of hoverplanes is appearing already. Fire's no good, Gale says. I nod and we both load explosive-tipped arrows. Those warehouses across the way look deserted anyway. As the planes sweep silently in, I make another decision. I'm standing, I shout to Gale, and rise to my feet. This is the position I get the best accuracy from. I lead earlier and score a different hit on the point plane, blasting a hole in its belly. Gale blows the tail off a second. It flips and crashes into the street, sending off a series of explosions as a cargo goes off. Without warning, a third V formation unveils. This time, Gale squarely hits the point plane. I take the wing off the second bomber, causing it to spin into the one behind it. Together, they collide into the roof of the warehouse across from the hospital. A fourth goes down from gunfire. Alright, that's it, Paylor says. Flames and heavy black smoke from the wreckage obscure our view. Did they hit the hospital? Must have, she says grimly. As I hurry toward the ladders at the far end of the warehouse, the sight of Masala and one of the insects emerging from behind an air duct surprises me. I thought they'd still be hunkered down in the alley. They're growing on me, says Gale. I scramble down a ladder. When my feet hit the ground, I find a bodyguard, Chrysidia, and the other insect waiting. I expect resistance, but Chrysidia just waves me toward the hospital. She's yelling, I don't care, Plutarch. Just give me 5 more minutes. Not one to question a free pass. I take off into the street. Oh no, I whisper, as I catch sight of the hospital. What used to be the hospital. I move past the wounded, past the burning plane wrecks, fixated on the disaster ahead of me. People screaming, running about frantically, but unable to help. People screaming, running about. The bombs have collapsed the hospital roof and set the building on fire, effectively trapping the patients within. A group of rescuers have assembled, trying to clear a path to the inside, but I already know what they will find. If the crushing debris and the flames didn't get them, the smoke did. Gale's at my shoulder. The fact that he does nothing only confirms my suspicion. Miners don't abandon an accident until it's hopeless. Come on, Katniss. Hamish says they can get a hovercraft in for us now, he tells me, but I can't seem to move. Why would they do that? Why would they target people who are already dying, I ask him. Scare others off. Prevent the wounded from seeking help, says Gale. Those people you met, they were expendable. To Snow, anyway. If the capital wins, what will it do with a bunch of damaged slaves? I remember all those years in the woods, listening to Gale rant against the capital. Me not paying close attention, wondering why he even bothered to dissect its motives. Why thinking like our enemy would ever matter? Clearly, it could have mattered today. When Gale questioned the existence of the hospital, he was not thinking of disease, but this, because he never underestimates the cruelty of those we face. Hello, Lucas. Luca. Oh, man. Holy cow. I slowly turn my back to the hospital and find Chrysidia, flanked by the insect standing a couple of yards in front of me, her manners unrattled. Cool, even. Katniss, she says. President Snow just had them air the bombing live. Then he made an appearance to say that this was his way of sending a message to the rebels. What about you? Would you like to tell the rebels anything? Yes, I whisper. The red blinking light on one of the cameras catches my eye. I know I'm being recorded. Yes, I say more forcefully. Everyone is drawing away from me, Gale, Chrysidia, the insects, giving me the stage. But I stay focused on the red light. I want to tell the rebels that I am alive, that I am here in District 8, where the capital has just bombed a hospital full of unarmed men, women, and children. There will be no survivors. The shock I've been feeling begins to give way to fury. I want to tell people that if you think for 1 second the capital will treat us fairly, if there's a ceasefire, you're deluding yourself because you know who they are and what they do. My hands go out automatically as if to indicate the whole horror around me. This is what they do, and we must fight back. I'm moving in toward the camera now, carried forward by my rage. President Snow says he's sending us a message. Well, I have one for him. You can torture us and bomb us and burn our districts to the ground. But do you see that? One of the cameras follows as I point to the planes burning on the roof of the warehouse across from us. The capital seal on a wing glows clearly through the flames. Fire is catching. I am shouting now, determined that he will not miss a word. And if we burn, you burn with us. My last words hang in the air. I feel suspended in time, held aloft in a cloud of heat that generates not from my surroundings, but from my own being. Cut! Crescendia's voice snaps me back into reality, extinguishes me. She gives me a nod of approval. That's a wrap. Oh, Knight, thank you so much for the roses. Oh my god. Yeah. And just like what Crescendia says, that is a wrap for this stream. We will continue to chapter 8 at some point. If not tomorrow, then the next day. Holy cow. Holy shit. I do like the little note of Katniss calling the camera crew insects, because it's like, yeah, they're just doing this for optics. They're throwing her, they're dolling her up practically. They're puppeteering her, really, to be a mascot. And it's not right, yet it's a good move. Unfortunately, they're using her, obviously, but now that like most, if not 90% of the districts are with the rebels, or are wanting to support the rebels, then obviously they need to have, airwaves. They need to be seen, to be heard. But propaganda, which just adds more points to how, District 13 and Alma Coin is just a little soulless. Their motives are not being, like, they don't necessarily care much about Katniss, and she is to be seen as a soldier, as a tool, which is degrading for a victim of now 2 Hunger Games and 2 tons of trauma. And this is just adding more, is witnessing the violence of the Capitol. And it's important. It is a good move for the rebels to have a camera to record and to witness firsthand of the violence of the Capitol to the other districts, because this whole time each district weren't in communication with each other. They were just by themselves, and they only knew blips of other districts when it was the Hunger Games, with the victory tours and all that kind of stuff. And now the rebels are finally trying to connect and communicate with each district and finding routes and everything underground, ways to get in, so yeah, this is a really, really solid story. It is really good. I'm liking it so far. Each chapter, in the back of my thinking process, in the back of my my head, um, I think about like the movie, right? And how uh each chapter is like a scene from the movie and comparing the two. And I don't know. I think I've said this before, the movie is very well made in a visual sense, in the dramatization, but in the books, you get a better understanding of what Katniss is feeling and thinking. Obviously, because it's like first person perspective, and having like a inner monologue 24/7, uh, Katniss talking the whole time would definitely, uh, you know, make the movies a little worse, you know. Um, but yeah, no, this is really good. I'm really glad I'm reading this, and you guys can stop by and hang out and everything and talk and all that kind of stuff. So again, cannot thank you guys enough for stopping by and watching this and everything in the future or currently. So that is all the time I have for this part. Um, I'll have to see how I'm feeling after work tomorrow. Um, could continue this. We could try to shoot for like chapter 10. So, we're 10 out of 27, 28. So we're making some pretty decent progress. Or we can continue with other games and stuff like that. So, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next stream. Good night. Oh, bro just joined. Oh, damn. Um, but yeah. All right. I'll see you. Bye-bye. No, people are joining now. Bro. Is this a sign for me to read another chapter? Is this another sign I should read another chapter? Hold on. Hold on. Now there's an audience. we could we could do another chapter. We could do another chapter. Hold on. What happened? Hey, please, sir, please. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Hold on a minute. All right, we're gonna do another for you, Marie. Oh, thank you, Marie, for the hand heart. Thank you, thank you. Yeah. Let me get some water. I just kind of yapped a little bit. My little synopsis so far. We're about to start chapter 7. Oh my god, people are joining in. Hello, hello. Okay. So we are going to. Oh no, we're on chapter 8. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah. Now that people are here. All right. Hell yeah. We're gonna do chapter 8, and let's see. It goes from chapter. Oh, we already hit 100 pages. Damn. This kind of goes fast. Well, let me see how many pages there are in chapter 8. Okay. It's just 101 to 114. Damn. Okay. That's fine. Ugh. That's all right. Okay. Trying to psych myself up. Let's see. Alrighty. Chapter 8. So they just did the first propo in the District 8 hospital, and then they bombed the hospital. And they just talked major shit to the capital. Okay. Chapter 8, page 101. Boggs appears and gets a firm lock on my arm, but I'm not planning on running now. I look over at the hospital, just in time to see the rest of the structure give way, and the fight goes out of me. All those people, the hundreds of wounded, the relatives, the medics from District 13, are no more. I turn back to Boggs, see the swelling on his face left by Gale's boot. I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure his nose is broken. His voice is more resigned than angry, though. Back to the landing strip. I obediently take a step forward and wince as I become aware of the pain behind my right knee. The adrenaline rush that overrode the sensation has passed, and my body parts join in a chorus of complaints. I'm banged up and bloody, and someone seems to be hammering on my left temple from the inside of my skull. Boggs quickly examined my face, then scoops me up and jogs for the runway. Halfway there, I puke on his bulletproof vest. It's hard to tell because he's short of breath, but I think he sighs. The small hovercraft, different from the one that transported us here, waits on the runway. The second team's on board. We take off. No comfy seats and windows this time. We seem to be in some sort of cargo craft. Boggs does emergency first aid on people to hold them until we get back to 13. I want to take off my vest since I got a fair amount of vomit on it as well. But it's too cold to think about it. I lie on the floor with my head in Gail's lap. The last thing I remember is Boggs spreading a couple of burlap sacks over me. When I wake up, I'm warm and patched up in my old bed in the hospital. My mother's there, checking my vital signs. How do you feel? A little beat up, but I'm alright, I say. No one even told us you were going until you were gone, she says. I feel a pang of guilt. When your family's had to send you off twice to the Hunger Games, this isn't the kind of detail you should overlook. I'm sorry. They weren't expecting the attack. I was just supposed to be visiting the patients, I explain. Next time I'll have them cleared with you. Mockingjay, let's go. Yes, we're on page 102. We're on chapter 8. Yes. Katniss, no one clears anything with me, she says. It's true. Even I don't. Not since my father died. Why pretend? Well, I'll have them notify you anyway. On the bedside table is a piece of shrapnel they removed from my leg. Youch. The doctors are more concerned with the damage my brain might have suffered from the explosions, since my concussion hadn't fully healed to begin with. But I don't have double vision or anything. I can think clearly enough. I slept right through the late afternoon and night, and I'm starving. My breakfast is disappointingly small, just a few cubes of bread soaking in warm milk. I've been called down to an early morning meeting at command. I start to get up and then realize they plan to roll my hospital bed directly there. I want to walk, but that's out. So I negotiate my way into a wheelchair. I feel fine, really, except for my head and my leg, and the soreness from the bruises and the nausea that hit a couple of minutes after I ate. Maybe the wheelchair is a good idea. Yeah. As they wheel me down, I begin to get uneasy about what I will face. Gale and I directly disobeyed orders yesterday, and Boggs has the injury to prove it. Surely they will be repercussions, but will they go so far as annulling our agreement for the victor's immunity? Have I stripped PETA of what little protection I could give him? When I get to command, the only ones who arrived are Chrysidia, Masala, and the insects. Masala beams and says, "There's our little star," and the others are smiling so genuinely that I can't help but smile in return. They impressed me in 8, following me onto the roof during the bombing, making Plutarch back off so they could get the footage they wanted. They more than do their work. They take pride in it, like Cinna. I have a strange thought that if we were in the arena together, I would pick them as allies, Chrysidia, Masala, and I have to stop calling you the insects, I blurred out in the cameraman. I explained how I didn't know their names, but their suits suggested the shelled creatures. The comparison doesn't seem to bother them. Even without the camera shells, they strongly resemble each other. Same sandy hair, red beards, and blue eyes. The one with clothes bitten Nails introduces himself as Castor, and the other, who's his brother, as Pollux. I wait for Pola to say hello, but he just nods. At first I think he's shy or a man of few words, but something tugs on me. The position of his lips, the extra effort he takes to swallow, and I know before Castor tells me, Pollux is an Avox. They have cut out his tongue and he will never speak again, and I no longer have to wonder what made him risk everything to help bring down the capital. Ooh. As the room fills, I brace myself for a less congenial reception, but the only people who register are any kind of negativity are Hamish, who's always out of sorts, and a sour-faced Fulvia Cardew. Boggs wears a flesh-colored plastic mask from his upper lip to his brow. I was right about the broken nose. So his expression is hard to read. Coin and Gale are in the midst of some exchange that seems positively chummy. When Gale slides into the seat next to my wheelchair, I say, "Making new friends?" His eyes flicker to the president and back. Well, one of us has to be accessible. He touches my temple gently. How do you feel? They must have served stewed garlic and squash for the breakfast vegetable. The more people who gather, the stronger the fumes are. My stomach turns and the lights suddenly seem too bright. Kind of rocky. I say, "How are you?" "Fine." They dug out a couple of pieces of shrapnel. "No big deal," he says. Coin calls the meeting in order. Our airtime assault has officially launched. For any of you who missed yesterday's 2000 broadcast of our first propo, or the 17 reruns BT has managed to air since, we will begin by replaying it. Replaying it? So they not only got usable footage, they've already slapped together a propo and aired it repeatedly. My palms grow moist in anticipation of seeing myself on television. What if I'm still awful? What if I'm as stiff and pointless as I was in the studio and they've just given up on getting anything better? Individual screens slide up from table. The lights dim slightly, and a hush falls over the room. At first, my screen is black. Then a tiny spark flickers in the center. It blossoms, spreads, silently eating up the blackness until the entire frame is ablaze with a fire so real and intense I imagine I feel the heat emanating from it. The image of my Mockingjay pin emerges, glowing red gold. The deep, resonant voice that haunts my dreams begins to speak. Claudius Templesmith, the official announcer of the Hunger Games, says, "Katniss Everdeen, the girl who was on fire, burns on." Suddenly, there I am, replacing the Mockingjay, standing before the real flames and smoke of District 8. I want to tell the rebels that I am alive, that I am right here in District 8, where the capital has bombed a hospital full of unarmed men, women, and children. There will be no survivors. Cut to the hospital collapsing in on itself, the desperation of the onlookers as I continue in voiceover. I want to tell the people that if you think for 1 second the capital will treat us fairly, if there's a ceasefire, you're deluding yourself, because you know who they are and what they do. Back to me now, my hands lifting up to indicate the outrage around me. This is what they do, and we must fight back. Now comes a truly fantastic montage of the battle. The initial bombs falling, us running, being blown to the ground. A close-up of my wound, which looks good and bloody. Scaling the roof, diving into the nests, and then some amazing shots of the rebels, Gale, and mostly me. Me knocking those planes out of the sky. Smash cut back to me moving in on the camera. President Snow says he's sending us a message. Well, I have one for him. You can torture us and bomb us and burn our districts to the ground. But do you see that? Or with the camera, tracking to the planes burning on the roof of the warehouse, tight on the capital seal on the wing. which melts back into the image of my face shouting at the president, "Fire is catching, and if we burn, you burn with us." The flames engulf the screen again. Superimposed on them in black, solid letters are the words, "If we burn, you burn with us." The words catch fire, and the whole screen burns to blackness. There's a moment of silent relish, then applause followed by demands to see it again. Coin indulgently hits the replay button, and this time, since I know what will happen, I try to pretend that I'm watching this on my television at home in the seam. An anti-capital statement. There's never been anything like it on television. Not in my lifetime, anyway. By the time the screen burns to black a second time, I need to know more. Did it play all over Panem? Did they see it in the capital? Not in the capital, says Plutarch. We couldn't override their system, although BT's working on it. But in all the districts, we even got it on in 2, which may be more valuable than the capital at this point in the game. Is Claudia Templesmith with us? I ask. This gives Plutarch a good laugh. Only his voice. But that's ours for the taking. He didn't even have to do any special editing. He says that actual line in your first games. He slaps his hand on the table. Let's say we give another round of applause to Chrysidia, her amazing team, and of course, our on-camera talent. I clap too, until I realize I'm the on-camera talent, and maybe it's obnoxious that I'm applauding for myself, but no one's paying attention. I can't help noticing the strain on Fulvia's face, though. I think how hard this must be for her, watching Hamish's idea succeed under Chrysidia's direction when Fulvia's studio approach was such a flop. Coin seems to have reached the end of her tolerance for self-congratulation. Yes, well deserved. The result is more than we had hoped for, but I do have to question the wide margin of risk that you were willing to operate within. I know the raid was unforeseen. However, given the circumstances, I think we should discuss the decision to send Katniss into actual combat. The decision? To send me into combat? Then she doesn't know that I flagrantly disregarded orders, ripped out my earpiece, and gave my bodyguards the slip. What else have they kept from her? It was a tough call, says Plutarch, furrowing his brow, but the general consensus, right, was that we weren't going to get anything worth using if we locked her in a bunker somewhere every time a gun went off. And you're all right with that? Asked the president. President? Like Snow? Gale has to kick me under the table before I realize that she's talking to me. Oh, yeah, I'm completely alright with that. It felt good, doing something for a change. Well, let's be just a little more judicial with her exposure, especially now that the Capitol knows what she can do, says Coin. There's a rumble of assent from around the table. No one has ratted out Gale and me. Not Plutarch, whose authority we ignored. Not Boggs with his broken nose. Not the insects we let into the fire. Not Hamish. No, wait a minute. Hamish is giving me a deadly smile and saying sweetly, "Yeah, we wouldn't want to lose our little Mockingjay when she's finally begun to sing." I make a note to myself not to end up alone in a room with him, because he's clearly having vengeful thoughts over that stupid earpiece. Oof. So what else do you have planned? Asks the president. Plutarch nods to Chrysidia, who consults a clipboard. We have some terrific footage of Katniss at the hospital in 8. There should be another propo in that with the theme, because you know who they are and what they do. We'll focus on Katniss interacting with the patients, particularly the children, the bombing of the hospital, and the wreckage. Masala is cutting that together. We're also thinking about a Mockingjay piece, highlight some of Katniss's best moments, intercut with scenes of rebel uprisings and war footage. We call that one Fire is Catching. And then Fulvia came up with a really brilliant idea. Oh, hold up. Um, Fulvia's mouthful of sour grapes expression is startled right off her face, but she recovers. Well, I don't know how brilliant it is, but I was thinking we could do a series of propos called We Remember. In each one, we would feature one of the dead tributes, Little Rue from 11 or Old Mags from 4. The idea being that we could target each district with a very personal piece. A tribute to your tributes, as it were, says Plutarch. That is brilliant, Fulvia, I say sincerely. It's the perfect way to remind people why they're fighting. I think it could work, she says. I thought we might use Finnick to intro and narrate the spots, if there was interest in them. Frankly, I don't see how we could have too many We Remember proposes going. Can you start producing them today? Of course, says Fulvia, obviously mollified by the response to her idea. Cressidia has smoothed everything over in the creative department with her gesture, praised Fulvia for what is, in fact, a really good idea, and cleared the way to continue her on air depiction of the Mockingjay. What's interesting is that Plutarch seems to have no need to share in the credit. All he wants is for the airtime assault to work. I remember that Plutarch is a head game maker, not a member of the crew, not a piece in the games. Therefore, his worth is not defined by a single element, but by the overall success of the production. If we win the war, that's when Plutarch will take his bow and expect his reward. The president sends everyone off to get to work, so Gale wheels me back to the hospital. We laugh a little about the cover up. Gale says no one wanted to look bad by admitting they couldn't control us. I'm kinder, saying they probably didn't want to jeopardize the chance of taking us out again, now that they've gotten some decent footage. Both things are probably true. Gale has to go meet BT down the special weaponry, so I doze off. It seems like I've only shut my eyes for a few minutes, but when I open them, I flinch at the sight of Hamish sitting a couple of feet from my bed, waiting. Possibly for several hours if the clock is right. I think about hollering for a witness, but I'm going to have to face him sooner or later. Hamish leans forward and dangles something on a thin white wire in front of my nose. It's hard to focus on, but I'm pretty sure what it is. He drops it to the sheets. That is your earpiece. I will give you exactly one more chance to wear it. If you remove it from your ear again, I'll have you fitted with this. He holds up some sort of metal headgear that I instantly name the Head Shackle. It's an alternative audio unit that locks around your skull and under your chin until it's opened with a key. And I'll have the only. And I'll. Sorry. And I'll have the only key. If for some reason you're clever enough to disable it, Image dumps the head shackle on the bed and whips out a tiny silver chip. I'll authorize them to surgically implant this transmitter into your ear so that I may speak to you 24 hours a day. Hamish in my head full time. Horrifying. I'll keep the earpiece in, I mutter. Excuse me, he says. I'll keep the earpiece in, I say loud. Enough to wake up half the hospital. You sure? Because I'm equally happy with any of the three options, he tells me. I'm sure. I scrunch up the earpiece wire protectively in my fist and fling the head shackle back in his face with my free hand, but he catches it easily. Probably was expecting me to throw it. Anything else? Hamish rises to go. While I was waiting, I ate your lunch. My eyes take in the empty stew bowl and tray on my bed table. I'm going to report you, I mumble in my pillow. You do that, sweetheart. He goes out, safe in the knowledge that I'm not the reporting kind. I want to go back to sleep, but I'm restless. Images from yesterday begin to flood into the present. The bombing, the fiery plane crashes, the faces of the wounded who no longer exist. I imagine death from all sides. Um, The last moment before seeing a shell hit the ground, feeling the wind blown from my plane, and the dizziness, and the dizzying nosedive into oblivion. The warehouse roof falling down at me while I'm pinned helplessly to my cot. Things I saw in person or on the tape. Things I caused with a pull of my bowstring. Things I will never be able to erase from my memory. At dinner, Finnick brings his tray to my bed so he can watch the newest propo together on television. He was assigned quarters on my old floor, but he has so many mental relapses he still basically lives in the hospital. The rebels air the because you know who they are and what they do propo that Masala edited. The footage is intercut with short studio clips of Gale, Boggs, and Chrysidia describing the incident. It's hard to watch my reception in the hospital in 8 since I know what's coming. When the bombs rain down on the roof, I bury my face in the pillow, looking up again at a brief clip of me at the end, after all the victims are dead. At least Finnick doesn't applaud or act all happy when it's done. He just says, people should know that happened, and now they do. Let's turn it off, Finnick, before they run it again, I urge him. But as Finnick's hand moves toward the remote control, I cry, wait! The Capitol is introducing a special segment, and something about it looks familiar. Yes, it's Caesar Flickerman, and I can guess who his guest will be. PETA's physically transformation shocks me. The healthy, clear-eyed boy I saw a few days ago has lost at least 15 pounds and developed a nervous tremor in his hands. They've still got him groomed, but underneath the paint that cannot cover the bags under his eyes, and the fine clothes that cannot conceal the pain he feels when he moves, is a person badly damaged. My mind reels, trying to make sense of it. I just saw him 5, I think it was 5 days ago. How he has deteriorated. How has he deteriorated so rapidly? What could they possibly have done to him in such a short time? Then it hits me. I replay in my mind as much as I can of his first interview with Caesar, searching for anything that would place it in time. There's nothing. They could have taped that interview a day or two after I blew up the arena, then done whatever they wanted to do to him ever since. Oh, PETA, I whisper. Caesar and PETA have a few empty exchanges before Caesar asks him about rumors that I'm taping propos for the districts. They're using her, obviously, says PETA, to whip up the rebels. I doubt she even really knows what's going on in the war. What's at stake? Is there anything you'd like to tell her? Asks Caesar. There is, says PETA. He looks directly into the camera, right into my eyes. Don't be a fool, Katniss. Think for yourself. They've turned you into a weapon that could be instrumental in the destruction of humanity. If you've got any real influence, use it to put the brakes on this thing. Use it to stop the war before it's too late. Ask yourself, do you really trust the people you're working with? Do you really know what's going on? And if you don't, find out. Black screen. Seal of Panem. Show over. Finnick presses the button on the remote that kills the power. In a minute, people will be here to do damage control on PETA's condition and the words that came out of his mouth. I will need to repudiate whatever the name is. Repudiate them. But the truth is, I don't trust the rebels, or Plutarch, or Coin. I'm not confident that they tell me the truth. I won't be able to conceal this. Footsteps are approaching. Finnick grips me hard by the arms. We didn't see it. What? I ask. We didn't see PETA. Only the propo on 8. Then we turned the set off because the images upset you. Got it? He asks. I nod. Finish your dinner. I pull myself together enough so that when Plutarch and Fluvia enter, I have a mouthful of bread and cabbage. Finnick is talking about how well Gale came across on the camera. We congratulate them on the propo. make it clear it was so powerful, we turned out right afterward. They look relieved. They believe us. No one mentions PETA. Ooh. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Damn. Yeah, you can see how they edit the propos and everything like that. Really good chapter. This is really good. Eek. Yeah. Yeah, the Capitol's definitely beating the shit out of PETA and everything. God, this is so good. Hold on. Okay. We're on chapter 9. I think I'm gonna have to call it for that. I did a little extra chapter for Marie. Melancholy, you just joined. I'm so sorry. It is 17 minutes after 2 a.m. I will have to call it here. You guys can check out the VOD, the full stream on my Twitch. And if I have the time, thank you, sir. You have my heart. Thank you, Marie. Shucks. Thank you. The VOD is going to be on my Twitch, so you can watch the whole thing. And hopefully I'll catch up on my YouTube so that I can export it from my Twitch onto my YouTube. So that's there. And then, yeah, we should be good to go. So thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I should have all of Catching Fire on my YouTube as well. Yeah. Hopefully. I might have missed a VOD. I keep forgetting to send them, but I will for sure after the end of the stream. Sorry, I'm really tired. But thank you so much for all the likes and the roses and the hearts and everything like that. Thank you so much for finding time at like 2 a.m. to check out my channel and listen to me yap and read a book. This is getting really good, and I cannot wait to read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunset on the Reaping. I hear that I will be crying when I read that. Sick. All right. Yeah, you all have a good night. I will be live tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. I'll probably start around like 11 or 11:30 Central, and either more of this or game, maybe gaming. We'll see. Lordy, y'all have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.